Welcome back to Between Two White Coats, a podcast designed to help you be the healthiest version of yourself. I'm Dr. Michelle Plaster, a family medicine doctor.
And I'm her co-host, Amber Foster, a family nurse practitioner. In our combined 30 years in medicine, we've seen a lot.
We're discussing key issues surrounding health and wellness, answering some of our biggest questions, overcoming health obstacles, and giving patient-centered advice in hopes of educating you and providing the tools you need to live a healthy life.
If you find our podcast helpful, please consider subscribing so you don't miss an episode. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review. This will help other people find our podcast.
Thanks for joining us. We look forward to serving you. Welcome back to Between Two White Coats. We have our third episode with our friend Jenny Fisher. Jenny is a health coach and a nutrition coach with a nutrition degree, and we have talked about making some important lifestyle changes that will help you live long and prosper. That is what Jenny does, is help us to find our healthy and our happy at the same time.
I hope so.
So we have talked about sleep and stress, and we have talked about nutrition, and you made it less intimidating. If you didn't catch that episode, please go back and listen to some really great foundational information about how we should fuel our bodies and use our food as medicine. And now we're going to move on to movement and fitness. So jump in, Jenny, get us moving.
So fitness, I think, was the place where I started, and a lot of people are scared to death to start there. It's very intimidating. But I was introduced when I was in high school. I did a weightlifting class, and I was one of like 4 girls, but I was the only girl that took it seriously and was competing with the boys. And I was like, I like this. I'm good at this. So it just kind of went from there. And I was a college athlete. I was on the competitive dance team at North Carolina State University.
Oh, wow.
And my husband was a walk-on at NC State for the football team. So he got to show me some of their stuff. And then we both ended up being personal trainers through college, which if you have a college-age kid, personal training is a really, really cool profession. I mean, for adults too, but also for that age, just working at a box gym, being a personal trainer is a really great job. But I did not take that profession back up until later in life when I realized how much I missed it. During COVID, I started virtual training on Instagram. And what was cool about that was I just had people at home. The gyms were closed. I had people who were like, just give me a workout, girl. I don't have a lot of equipment. So I did a lot of body weight workouts and you know, some minimal equipment stuff just to kind of get us moving through the pandemic. Since then, though, I love research, and I love to study, and I love to learn from the experts. And because of that, I now understand exercise science to a whole different degree, you know? So there are a couple of things that I wanted to talk about to, number one, take some of the intimidation out. So if there's anybody who's like, I am nervous about just walking into a Planet Fitness and getting started, or I have somebody a little bit more like y'all, where y'all are, you know, former athletes, possibly current athletes.
Oh no, we're not. I was a dancer. My kids would be mortified if someone thought I was an athlete, because they say they got all their athletic ability from their dad.
Yes.
So I was a dancer like you.
Yeah.
So.
But I definitely claim the former athlete.
She's former athlete, yes.
The further I get from it, I served in the Army where they made me exercise after
Again,
I was
athletic.
after I was an NCAA athlete. However, the former is getting larger than the athlete as time passes. And so I need to put more of the emphasis on the athlete.
So we're back to the athlete version.
Well,
yes.
But to Amber's point, like, you can start at any point and you can be an athlete. So it is
and you
never
love
too late.
exercise.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
you're the get up at 5
Well,
a.m. do your exercise
I joke with
person.
my kids because they say that dancing is not like real, right? Because they all play sports. My husband played college football.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but can you kick your leg over your head?
Can I tell you, dancing is one of the most athletic things that you can do.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to make sure
Now,
my kids know
athletics breaks down into strength, agility, power, speed, mobility, those things, right?
Yeah.
When you look at speed, agility, coordination, a dancer
Balance,
is like above
yes.
everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm going to make sure they hear that part. But
it
anyways,
is a
go
type
ahead.
of athletic. Yep.
And
So-
such a fun way to exercise too.
So
If you love to
sociable,
dance, there's so
yeah.
many great ways to
Yes.
move around with the right music.
Well, that's a great point to start with then. So if we have somebody who's like, right now I'm on a couch and that's my exercise is I sit on a couch every
right.
night.
I walk to
How
the
do I do
restroom. I
this?
walk to the kitchen.
Yeah. How do I do this? One of my biggest things of just starting is just find a class. find a Zumba class, find a step class, find a Pilates class, whatever it is. Sometimes just having a routine and a community will get you going, right? So don't think, well, but it's not building skeletal muscle and everybody tells me I have to do this, or I love this boot camp class, but everybody tells me that a woman shouldn't do HIIT right now. Listen, something is better than nothing.
Right.
And also building a routine is kind of where you need to start, just finding the habit. Once you get that stuff, then we can work on the bigger stuff, right? And we're going to go into those things. But right now, get out of your own way. Stop thinking about what you shouldn't do. And that goes for fitness, nutrition, lifestyle. Stop thinking about what you shouldn't do because you heard some person on some kind of platform tell you something. And start thinking about, but what do I intuitively just want to do? What do I want to try?
What would be fun? What won't scare me? What will I likely do? The best way to start is to start.
That's right. That's right. So number one, just start. Okay. Number two is what do we need to do if we actually want to start getting stronger for longevity? So my training app is called SALT Training App, and it stands for Strength, Agility, Longevity, and Training. And I put training in there because there are workout programs where people just sweat and they're trying to hit these zones. What do the zones even mean? For some generations, it's for women over 40, sometimes that doesn't do anything. So I want to build strength to get skeletal muscle built onto us. I want to work on agility so that we're doing our plyometrics, our joints are getting healthier. Longevity, that means so much, including nutrition. And then training, because we are purposefully, meaningfully doing things. So my next piece of advice is, if you are somebody who now you're kind of consistently moving, but now you really want to figure it out, get a coach. Okay, get a coach. So your mind immediately goes, hire a personal trainer. So no knock to personal trainers. I used to be one. I thought it was pretty good. But I saw these clients once, maybe twice a week. Right. And then I was hoping that they would do some stuff on their own. But it's a very expensive way to do this. And you can take that stuff and build on to your own program and supplement. That's a wonderful way to do it. You can absolutely do that. But another way that you can do it can be more cost effective. And in my world, the way that I do it, it's actually more effective for a lot of people, is hire an online trainer, or just go on YouTube and find a free trainer that has a program that makes sense for what you're trying to do, building skeletal muscle, getting some cardiovascular efficiency and things like that. So those are the things that I would say is don't do it alone. Having that coach there can just open the doors and find results quicker. And that doesn't always cost money.
Asking yourself, what are your barriers? Because that coach can also help you with, okay, we said you were going to exercise 3 times last week. You didn't exercise any times last week. Well, let's talk through that. Let's figure out what is it that you need. What are your barriers? And then the accountability. We all know that when you have to be accountable to someone, that you're much more likely to do it, especially if you're going from not doing it to doing it. Right. Something has to change. And so sometimes to get off the couch, you need a little push. Yeah. And your coach and trainer can help give you those pushes.
And to that point, having a partner sometimes is a great accountability. So if you have a friend that's kind of in your stage of fitness life, then get that person too. So let's talk about the things that you can focus on though when you're training. So there's cardio, there is strength building, there's plyometric training, there's endurance, all these things. I'm assuming that your demographic might be similar to mine, where you're looking at people between maybe the age of 30 to 65 years old. So especially women in that perimenopausal, postmenopausal area, and our men, right? Skeletal muscle is the thing that we want to focus on. So when you're a female in your 20s and 30s, and a male in your 20s and 30s as well, you can get away with a lot of endurance training, right? That's the time to do your marathons. I did marathons in my late 20s, early 30s, and I'm glad I got it out of my system then, because it's actually...
It was never in my system.
No.
Shelly
never had to get out.
It was in her system.
Yeah, I did some running, and I also was. You and I are similar generation, and we were raised in the women do cardio, women do cardio, women should be thin, and women do cardio and burn. How many calories did you eat, and how many calories did you burn? And there wasn't, even though I was an athlete, and I went to the gym to be stronger for my sport. When I was no longer playing my sport, why would I need to do that? And so
you lost your coach.
Yeah, I lost my coach. That's exactly why I did it, because my coach made me. And so there was less muscle building and much more of a focus on cardio. And I think men in our society hit the weights and women hit the treadmills
Typically.
And I think and we've talked about this in our perimenopause and menopause episode, where muscle mass kind of you'll build it up through your 20s, and then you'll sort of sustain it till perimenopause or so for women. And then if you're not trying to keep it, you're
losing it.
very much leaving the building.
That is, so protein synthesizing is something that just, when we're in our 20s and 30s, we're kind of androgenic. We're just building, and we hit a period where our bodies are going, you know what, we really need the protein for other things.
Yeah.
So thank you, but we're gonna not really care about that so much. So what ends up happening is we start having that muscular atrophy year after year after year, and we can lose up to like 5% of our muscle mass in 10 years if not being careful about it. So when I do have women that are like, I don't want to be bulky, and granted, I guess you could consider me bulky. I have a lot of muscle mass. I work to put that muscle on. I am working hard for that, and I'm also eating for that. So if you're a woman,
but I also think I do think by nature of how you exercise and use heavy weights, and you have an entire career around doing that, it is a ton of work that you are doing to get this physique. And most women would look at you and go, yeah, I want those arms. I want that. I want those abs. I want that.
It's a good billboard for me.
It is.
Well, if you didn't look like that, I'd be like, you have no idea what you're talking about, Jenny.
Right.
Stop talking to me, Jenny, on
but
the
for
Instagram.
all of the women who are saying, I don't want to be bulky, you are not going to look like your husband. You do not have that kind of...
But also, when you get into that perimenopausal state and you're starting to actively lose muscle, now we're just trying to
You're going to be working hard to sustain what you once had, or to sustain a bit less than what you once had.
That's
Absolutely.
Right. So my whole thing is like, stop thinking about being bulky and just thinking about maintaining or maybe growing even a little bit more to help burn fat. So when you think bulky, what you're probably thinking of is a woman who's kind of a power lifter, where she is very strong and very powerful, but she also has a lot of intramuscular fat that's helping her with her powerlifting. That is a woman that wants that mass, and she eats for that mass. So for the masses, you don't have to worry about that. It is not a thing. So
it's not gonna happen.
What we're looking at is building skeletal muscle, because that is here, I'll pull up my notes to make sure I don't miss anything, because skeletal muscle has so much benefit. So we've got hormonal balance that will just help that with that hormonal cascade. Sugar regulation is incredible. So this is a really cool thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that when you have more muscle mass, you basically are having a better way to store that sugar that you just took in, independent of insulin. So last podcast, we talked about insulin regulation, and if you're at baseline, you can burn fat more. So having more muscle will therefore help you with sugar regulation and burning fat throughout the day. So when I train my athletes, I go, the training that we're doing here on the mat is very important. Are you building muscle right now? No, you're actually destroying yourself. You're putting a little bit of voluntary stress. You're putting the work in here. I don't really care how many calories your Apple Watch tells you burn right now. That is not important. What's important is kind of tearing down those muscles, because in the next 48 to 72 hours, we're going to be building and repairing, and that is what's going to flip on. So if you can imagine this wall being full of thousands of light switches, we're trying to flip on as many light switches now during this workout, so that in the next 48 hours, they keep flipping on and they keep flipping on. And then all of a sudden you become a metabolic machine, and now you're just burning fat most of the time. When you do eat sugars, your body handles it much better. So you don't have to worry about diabetes and dementia and all these things. But you're also looking at cognitive health. Everything is pointing to, there are, what are they? I always say it wrong. BRNFs. Did I just say it right?
I think you did.
BNRFs. Anyways, there is a substrate that comes out that basically helps with brain cognition and neural regeneration, which is really cool. Bone density. So osteoporosis, sarcopenia is a loss of muscle, but osteoporosis is going to be that fragile bone, loss of bone. We, again, preserving the sexy from the first podcast we do. Preserving the sexy means being 80, 90. I'm going to outlive my husband. He knows this. I live better than him. Let's put it that way. Slightly. But when I do that, I would love to be able to, have a wonderful, sexy life without a walker. That's my whole thing. And then a higher metabolism. Again, we talked about this, being able to burn that fat, but also your skeletal muscle has a higher thermogenic effect. So it just naturally requires more energy to maintain itself than a fat mass. So those are some of the benefits to building skeletal muscle. So how do we do that? We're talking about hypertrophy lifting, which hypertrophy means muscle growth, and progressive overload is a really good way to do that. So you can do, if you go to a Pilates class, you'll get sometimes pink weights, sometimes they're normal weights, but sometimes they're pink weights because they're small and they're less intimidating for women to grab. And I do this in my series too, so this isn't a bad thing, but sometimes we lean into this is our primary way of lifting is muscular endurance lifting. We want that burn, right? That burn really is just your muscles losing oxygen, and now it's like, well, you barely lift this anymore. It's not necessarily building muscle, right? It's a good thing to do every once in a while is practice that muscular endurance. That's part of fitness. But when you're talking about building muscle mass on, we want to get under that weight. We want to lift compound movements. We want to lift, we were talking about reps in reserve, intensity. So if you go, let's take a bench press, for example, and we put a male or female under a bench press with a bar, and they're doing 45 pounds, which is the bar. And I have a woman that goes, oh yeah, I can do that. I can do that for 6 reps. And that's all they have. That's 0 reps in reserve, where she does 6 and can barely push it up. That's 0 reps in reserve. Now, if she sits down and does 4 reps and she knows, okay, I could probably do 2 more, that's called 2 reps in reserve. Okay. So what I'm looking for is working for intensity with really heavy weight. So having 1 to 2 reps in reserve before you rack that weight. And what that helps is, so when you're in your 20s and 30s, you can work towards failure. So you can lift, and then that last one, you can't even get back up. You need a spot to help you, right? It's a little bit better, a little bit safer for people. I hate to say aging because I don't feel like I'm old, but I am aging and I do have to care about my health and my joint health and all that stuff. So for me, if I look at having 1 or 2 reps that I can safely do, but challengingly do before I put the weight up, that means it's safer for me. My form's probably going to be really good, and I'm still going to get that growth. I still found that intensity before I put that weight down. But I also am not getting up to 20 to 30 reps. You know, when I was in my 20s, I used to do that. I'd do 20, 30 reps. So now I'm looking more for between 4 and 10 reps of a heavier weight.
And if you can do 20, then that's going to be really more working for endurance. If you're trying to build muscle, you want to add weight so that you can't do the 20, that you're getting 6 or 8.
Great way to put it.
And then you feel like, okay, I probably can't squeak out more than 1 or 2 more. Then that's my right weight.
That's a great way to break down.
And then when you get good at that weight, you add a little more.
And you should be able to see yourself progress.
Over what period of time would you expect that?
Everybody's a little bit different. And also, you'll see yourself, I love the progress lines that look like this, right? Yeah. Where you're showing progress, but there's dips in there.
It's not just a linear straight.
That's right. Especially women that are still menstruating, because that cycle, it will take your power away from you, and it will make you a little bit weaker and things like that, which is okay. But if you acknowledge it and accept it, you have a lot more grace with yourself. And instead of like I was worthless today, it was like, oh, well, that was just my cycle. I did well for my situation today. Yeah. I always say whatever you have, even if it's only 60%, bring that. You just brought your 100%. Just walk through it. Show up. Just show up. So that's the thing about muscle building, and it's okay to do those muscular endurance sets. So I want everybody to be okay with that. So if you go to a class and they're doing nothing but a body pump and it's just burning, it's not bad, but maybe the next time lift heavy and try to get that hypertrophy going.
And the thing about the heavy lifting, for those of us who are always putting a time factor on everything, it doesn't take that long. Mm-mm. You can really work a lot of different muscle groups, especially when you're doing, when you say compound, you're saying use different muscle groups at the same time.
That's right. You're hinging at different joints and all that stuff. So if I have somebody who is kind of new or newish, or you don't have a coach, and you want to start weightlifting, a really, really great place to start are machines. So as much as Planet Fitness intimidates me, because I'm always worried somebody's be like, you're going a little too hard. I need you to calm down. You're making too much noise. But for a beginner or somebody who's moderate, it's a great place because they have stations and you can kind of figure out the machines. You can ask for help, and they're very helpful.
So it's great visuals on the machine to show you which muscles are being worked. And
don't be intimidated. If you want to start with free weights and you've never done them, find a coach or find an online program that really helps you break those things down. And the other part of it is don't be intimidated by the guy that looks like he's been doing this for 30 years. Because I've walked in and I've seen a guy that looked like this and his form was terrible. And I'm like, I could break him down left to right. But what I'm saying is, even though they look like they know what they're doing, not always. So don't feel like you're out of your depth in certain situations. And those people really like to see beginners in there too. Like, I love it. I'm like, yes, get it. Okay, so let's talk about VO2 max training. This is a place where I think a lot of people go, well, people say that women in their 40s should do HIIT. Women, men in their 20s and 30s, again, endurance training, it's not going to hurt you. It's great. So you can do some circuit training and kind of wear yourself out and crawl out of a gym. It's not going to really bother you too much. For those trying to age well, what I look at is the intensity again. So for my VO2 max training and the way that I train on my SALT app is I'm going, okay, we're going to do a sprint. Sprinting could be on a row machine. It could be doing burpees. It could be doing step ups on a step, anything. It could be road sprinting. Whatever it is, we're going to go until we find a rate of perceived exertion, RPE, of a 9-10. And what that means is you are so gassed that you can barely breathe, and you've got about 5 to 10 seconds before you just have to stop, or your body's going to stop for you. Mm-hmm. So when we get to that, we rest. And by rest, I mean like almost fully recover. So maybe 2 minutes. But what we're doing there is we're applying that voluntary applied stress so that our mitochondria, now there's some autophagy there, it's some turnover. Again, we're flipping on those light switches. So if you're doing training like that, where you're kind of exhausting yourself for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds in my case, and then resting enough, and you can do that a few times, then I'm going to start hitting those light switches. My body's going to start metabolically aging in reverse because I'm now turning on those mitochondria, those power plants that generate the energy burn for me. I'm going to have more of those. So if I take my kids to jiu-jitsu practice and they're in there for 2 hours because they do competitive and regular practice, I'm going to go out into the parking lot. I'm just going to do sprints. I might be out there for 15 minutes and I did 6 sets of sprints and I just killed myself. But I help my mitochondrial health.
I bet the other moms look at you in a certain way, don't they, Jenny?
They might look at me like I'm crazy. Most of them are like, "You're so inspirational."
Right. I'll be sitting right here cheering you on.
No, they're amazing ones. But
of course. And it probably does inspire them. They're like, you know what? I keep saying I don't have time, but here I sit. I could use this time.
Parking lot workout.
That's right.
Parking lot workout. But and so the other part is daily walks. That's a big thing that I don't think we value enough. I try to get in. Now I have 2 massive dogs that need walks, so I kind of am obligated to get a daily walk, but I'm so blessed to have that. So even if it's 15 minutes, maybe an hour, but at least 15 minutes a day, go get your little walks in. And some people like you're on your feet all day. You're getting your steps in. You're getting your walks in. But a really great place, people go, should I do my walks after I eat or fasted, or when should I do these things? My whole thing is it really doesn't matter. You have 2 different ways to look at that. You can do it after you walk, and it's been shown to help with sugar regulation, so it'll bring your insulin down faster. Or you can do it fasted, meaning you're not starving, but your insulin is at baseline, and you're now using that walk to burn additional fat. So the fuel that you're using is fat. So either way, doesn't matter. Just get your walks in.
Walk for how long?
15 minutes or more. I try to go for at least 30 minutes.
And this is kind of a comfortable walk where I can have a conversation? Or
I would say a zone 2 walk. So what
Okay.
that means is I can hold a conversation, but I am purposefully walking.
Not
You know
a
what I mean?
saunter, not a...
That's right.
I didn't make it very far.
That's right.
You're pushing yourself a little bit, but you can hold a conversation.
That's absolutely it. Yep.
And what are the daily walks doing for us? We were building muscle. We were making sure we were sustaining and being strong by doing the heavy weights with maybe 2 reps in reserve. And then we were building mitochondria so that we
With our
continue
VO2 max
to have
training.
endurance with our VO2 max. And that was hit it hard in a hit, and then give yourself the 2 minutes to rest, and then exert to full level again.
Yeah. So when you think HIIT, high intensity interval training, I mean high intensity, not
to where you're like, I've got no more in the tank,
right.
So it's time to rest.
Yeah, and then the walks are great for glucose management. That's a big thing. Cognition. It's been good for just neuroregeneration, just really helping. helping everything fire the way it
I
should.
think proven in a lot of research
Yeah.
I've read to be the number one prevention of dementia is that sort of cardiovascular, get oxygen and nutrients to your brain.
Just overall mobility. Again, if you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So especially for the people that are sedentary. If you're sedentary for 8 hours a day and you are not walking, you are a sedentary person, and that is actually a disease state.
Yeah.
So if you want to defeat that and be like, well, I work a sedentary job, I don't want this disease state, go walk.
Well, and
Yes.
15 minutes doesn't sound unreasonable,
No.
right? Like,
Everything you've said is an hour.
yeah.
I mean, we build all these things up, and it's
Yeah.
maybe an hour of our day.
Yeah.
It's, none of this is not doable.
It's pretty.
Well, and daily walks also become a rhythm, right? So you then you look forward
is
to
for me.
that.
Yes.
And it's something that like maybe you take some mindfulness or some, where you're walking and you're enjoying being outside or
Yeah.
you're being with your family or you're talking to a friend.
Well,
We've
to
talked
that-
a lot. I'll do gratitude walks where the only thing I let myself think about while I'm walking is what I'm grateful for.
I love that.
And so it helps me with my stress reduction.
Yes.
It helps me to put life into perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It gets me moving, and I feel like I'm not doing anything if I'm not triple tasking. So
Yeah.
I checked 3 things off
Well,
in
and then
15
if
minutes.
you're outside and you have skin exposed, you're also getting vitamin
You're
D.
also getting your
and
vitamin D.
vitamin D is like the life giving.
You could choose to do this first thing in the morning when you first arise, and then that also gets
Yep,
that
it all
vitamin
blends
D
in.
and helps your circadian rhythm. And
Yep. Yeah. So to kind of wrap it up on something that people could do to benefit themselves with fitness. Number 1, just get started. Number 2, building skeletal muscle with that progressive overload. So heavier weights. And if you're new to weights, start light, build up quickly. Like
how
you
many
will
days
see
a week?
You will see results so
How many
quickly.
days a week should we be doing that?
Very minimum with weightlifting too.
Okay.
Very minimum. And again, that can be under a 30-minute session. Doesn't have to be that long. But if you only have 2 days a week, do 2 full body sessions spaced out. Because what you're doing is you're damaging that muscle. You need to have that repair and recovery. So don't do 2 full bodies 2 days in a row.
Got it.
If you have 3 to 5 days, you can split it out. So the split looks like maybe a push day. Push muscles are the things you're pushing away from you. So your chest, your shoulders, triceps. And then you can do a pull day. Pull day is everything that you're pulling towards you. So your biceps and your back, all of that. And you can include your posterior chain, which are your hamstrings and all that. But what I like to do is just do a whole lower body day. So you're looking at your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, calves. The other thing that I wanted to mention is plyometrics, because some people think HIIT is plyometrics. They're not the same thing. Again, those of us trying to age well, plyometrics is like a jumping movement. So I know you probably have a 60-year-old woman right now hearing this going, I can't jump. Is she crazy?
Right.
You can start just hopping from foot to foot. What we're doing is building up the ability to handle that stress and that joint impact. Again, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So if you're younger, just go ahead and implement these things. Sprinting is a form of plyometric training, box jumps, stepping up onto a staircase and then just hopping back down, getting that impact is part of plyometric training. So
It's so great for balance, which we naturally
yeah.
lose as we're aging. And we know that older people fall, they face plant, they can't even catch themselves. And this prevents all of that.
And I know you've seen patients where they break a hip and then it's just all downhill.
All downhill.
And it's the most that was one of the saddest things when I was working with that dementia population, was they were doing so great with their brain and then all of a sudden they had a fall or something.
Yeah.
And it's just
Changes everything.
devastating.
The outcomes are horrible.
And with that said, one of the things that I train that a lot of people overlook is mobility training. So people think, oh, yoga. Yoga is a form of mobility training, but mobility is actually a lot deeper than that. It's moving through joints. It's getting range of motion. It's core stability and all that stuff. So if you do hire a trainer, ask them if they know anything about mobility and if they can start incorporating, just 3 to 5 minutes in it, in your sessions and stuff like that. It'll go a long way.
So Jenny, if people were interested in tagging into you specifically, how would they go about doing that?
So SALT Training App is it is an app and it's a website. So salttrainingapp.com. It has a 7-day trial. So what I always tell people, it's not for everybody because everybody's very, personal with fitness, but it is designed for everybody, meaning it has the rules in there that are going to help you exceed or get to your goals, whatever those are. I give nutritional instruction, all that stuff along with it. But when you are going to the website, you'll see some options for monthly subscription, yearly subscription, quarterly subscription. with that, you get full access to all my programs. So we've got programs for beginners, and then we have programs that kind of get you into it. And it follows a circadian rhythm for the year. So I like to kind of get people into a habit forming thing at the beginning, a little more educational. Why are we doing this? What are the habit building practices that we could do? And then the next program goes into a lot more athletic burning, because we're getting to beach season. So it's like, let's burn that fat and let's really focus on what we're doing there and get really, really athletic. Right now, we're about to go into an MVP series. I probably, when this airs, we'll be in the MVP. And that is for people that want to build muscle or stay very athletic or blend it and do both. And then finally, at the end of the year, right before Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that, we purposefully are building on muscle, which usually means you need to be in a caloric surplus. So I'm like, instead of shying away from that surplus and feeling guilt, let's use that and build some muscle with it. Yeah,
and enjoy your holiday
enjoy the
food,
turkey,
but build some muscle.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there's a thing with it. But what I would say is, if you find me on Jenny Fisher Fitness, I am really, really good about answering almost 100% of my messages that are authentically looking for,
that aren't
answers.
Yes.
But if anybody does have any questions, they can reach out to me directly and I'll answer anything.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been
Thank
great.
you.
I feel inspired.
Yeah.
We'll check in with you and let you know how we're doing on all of our stages of lifestyle and nutrition and movement. But we so appreciate you. You are truly an expert in what you do. You're changing people for the better, and we appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you all for joining us. And if you would like to reach out to Jenny, you can find her on social media or on our website.
We like to leave you on a good note. Today's Tell Me Something Good is supportive role players in your life. This would be my hairdresser, Brittany. Brittany has been my hairdresser for 15 years. Y'all all know that I'm a little vanity. I don't know what I would do without her, and I'm so thankful for her and the services that she provides. So my supporting role, Brittany, my hairdresser, I love you so much. Thank you for all you do. They tend to be therapists as well. So they're hairdresser/therapist. And so super thankful for her. And that's today's Tell Me Something Good. And until next time, take care of yourself.